Am I the a-hole for telling my parents they're bad parents to me? I, 16 female, am the oldest of 5, and my parents have a hard time supporting our family. It wasn't always like this, but when I was around 7 or 8, my dad's company folded and life changed a lot. At the time, my mom was pregnant with my 3rd sibling. Life changed a lot, but mostly for me. As the oldest, they figured I should make sacrifices so my siblings wouldn't have to, and I went along with it for a long time. But in the last 2 years, it has been making me bitter and resentful. I think the reason I feel this way is I had a field trip come up that my whole class was going on, and I wanted to go so bad. It would have been the first field trip in 6 years, and it would have been great to go with my friends. Before, there were always others who didn't go, but that year everyone was going. And my parents couldn't make it work because my younger siblings had theirs coming up. It was like a switch flipped, because before, I just kind of accepted that as the oldest, I needed to be more understanding. But suddenly, I wasn't okay with it. I don't feel like I should be sacrificing again and again so my siblings can have a childhood with fun stuff. I think we should all get something on occasion. But my parents didn't want to listen then when I tried to bring it up, so I dropped it. With everything in the past year, stuff has been even more rough. I ended up getting a job during COVID so I could maybe treat myself on occasion and save for stuff my parents couldn't save for. I hit a breaking point 2 weeks ago. My sister's birthday was coming up, and my parents' money that was saved for her gift went onto the electrician instead. And since they know I work, they asked me to give them my money for her gift. Not let them borrow, no talk of even paying me back. Just give it. I said no, and they told me to think of my sister. I snapped and told them I was tired of them being better parents to my siblings than me, and it was clear they didn't give a damn unless it's them. Of course, it resulted in a fight, and now I'm being blamed. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your parents now take you for granted. You are not the 3rd parent. Is there any other adult relative you can lean on? Do you have plans for the future? If you're planning on college or extensive post-high school vocation training, you need to make sure you take care of that. And don't let your parents demand you sacrifice that future to take care of your siblings. Do not give them the money. I'm betting they didn't do anything for your birthday. I can't help but wonder if Opie's parents will expect Opie to work after school to pay for siblings' college. Not an a-hole. They should be treating all their kids equally. You didn't have a field trip in 6 years. They should have made an effort to make sure you got one. What did they get for you for your birthday? I'm guessing nowhere near as much as they want to spend on your sister? As soon as it is legal to do so, make sure they have no access to your money. In some countries it is 18, but in others it is less. Hopefully that is the case for you. And while they can control your bank account, hide the money elsewhere and safe enough so they can't accidentally find it. Not an a-hole. Your parents shouldn't have had more children than they can afford to raise, and you have every right to point this out. I'm really sorry you're in this situation, and I hope you get to go on your trip. Exactly. What were they thinking? That more babies would help their financial problems? Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife I warned you when our son got a lock for his room? So here's the problem. My son Simon, 16, moved out of the room he used to share with his little brother and got his own room a few months back. Ever since, he's been complaining about his mom barging in without knocking and interrupting his sleep and studying, sometimes when he's changing. I know that she's his mother, but he says he's got his own room and has a job and is learning to become an independent adult, but doesn't feel like his privacy is being respected even when that's his mom. He says he's not a kid anymore and is entitled to at least get a knock on the door before she comes in. He was getting tired of her not listening to him, so he came to me and said, Dad, you need to help me set some clear boundaries with Mom. So I spoke to her about her need to knock before entering Simon's room. She was like, What? And no, we're family, not strangers. Do you really expect me to foolishly knock on the door 5 times a day? That's ridiculous. Also said, Who knocks doors in their own home? I told her my family, for instance. She made a face, then went on a rant about how my family hate each other, and the way they treat each other like they were strangers is shameful. I told her family or strangers, it's about respecting one's privacy. We had an argument about it, and I told her if she wasn't going to stop with the barging and refuse to knock on the door before entering, then our son will get a lock. She did it again at 11 p.m. She barged in when our son was asleep. He jumped up because he got scared. Once he told me this, I told him to go ahead and get a lock and pay for it with his own money. There was literally no other way. My wife saw it and got upset. And my brother was visiting when she was raising her voice at me, questioning if I really went ahead and got a lock for Simon despite her disapproval, and said that I caught her off guard. And it's not okay because this teaches our children that they can manipulate one parent into doing what they want. I told her that A, Simon got the lock, not me, and B, I already warned her about the possibility of him getting a lock because he was getting tired of her boundary crossing, so she should have expected this outcome. She mentioned the same above points in her defense and said locks mean secrets, and that's not good. My brother was sitting watching while she was complaining. She began chewing him out when he asked her to let Simon keep the lock and said it wasn't a big deal. She stopped talking to me and Simon till we removed the lock. But I have no intentions in doing that. Was I at fault for my stance? I think your wife is a nahal, but the way you handled it with your wife was cowardly. You supported what your son did. In fact, you told him to do it, but then you played stupid by essentially saying he paid for it. I had no part in it. If you believed in your son's position, you should have supported that to your wife. In fact, if you felt so strongly, you should have told her the next time you do that, I will personally install a lock on his door. Everyone sucks here, except Simon. I agree. You sort of threw your son under the bus here. Sorry that your wife didn't handle her end well. It's totally respectful to knock on doors even in your own home. My 3-year-old has no problem with this concept. But your son needed more backup than you gave him. Everyone sucks here. Yo, seriously. My 3-year-old knocks, and we knock before we go in the bathroom to help her wipe. Sure, privacy is a bizarre concept in terms of she doesn't have secrets, really. But you model the behavior you expect from them, and it pays off. When you think they're asleep. The mom in this post is going to wonder why her children don't visit or call her. Talk to her about stuff when they're adults/out of the house. And this is part of the reason. Not today, Hull. So, do you have intimacy with your wife with the door open? Do you shower with the door open? Poop. There are reasonable things that one does in private that even a mother does not need to know about, much less see. Especially if you're a 16-year-old dude with raging hormones. Not today, Hull. What the hell? Why is this such a big deal for her? It's unreasonable to put up a fight against someone who's telling you to just knock before entering their private space. Good on you for advising him to get a lock. Also, why is she going to his room at 11 at night? Has she always acted like this, or is it new behavior? It's a big deal for her because she feels her authority as his mother is slipping away, and she doesn't like it. I had kids young, and both my and my ex-wife's primary identities were parent. As the kids got older, I worked to transition away from that, but she found herself very adrift as a mother who didn't have young children anymore, and she kind of lost her way. Maybe something like that is happening here. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my daughter go on a diet? My wife and I have been married for 17 years. We have a 14-year-old daughter, and we have 4 other children. Our daughter is a beautiful girl, and she was quite skinny when she was young. But since entering her teenage years, she has gained a little weight. She is by no means fat, or even overweight, but just not as skinny as she was when she was a kid. She's tall at 170 centimeters, 5'7", and weighs 64 kilograms, 143 pounds, with BMI of about 22, which is not considered overweight, but my wife is concerned because of her weight gain from when she was 12 to now. She does ballet and gymnastics, so she stays active. However, my wife is taking a more drastic approach and wants to put her on a diet while she's home for the summer holidays. My wife so far started nudging her to eat healthier. Last dinner, during supper, as my daughter asked for another slice of pie at dessert, my wife made a face and told her you've had enough. My wife has also told our cook not to make her any desserts or unhealthy fried snacks. She is also working with a dietitian to make a weight loss plan for her. My daughter seems to have noticed her mother's disapproval, and their relationship has become strained. It doesn't help that my wife keeps mentioning how thin our younger daughter, 11, is. I think part of this stems from my wife's background as a fashion model. She has been underweight for her entire life. When she was in her teens/early 20s, she was skeletal. She was 180 centimeters, 5'11", and 53 kilograms, 116 pounds, at her lowest weight. Now she is a healthier weight, but still very thin. I butted heads with my wife today after she got upset at our daughter for getting ice cream with a friend. She said this was her 4th time this week eating ice cream, and that she needs to be more serious about eating better. I told my wife she's been controlling and making our daughter self-conscious. My wife said she needs to toughen up and make better choices, or else she will end up fat. Of course, this conversation was not in earshot of our daughter, but still, I was shocked at my wife for saying that. I agree with encouraging her to make healthier choices, but flat out veto the idea of putting her on a diet plan with the goal of losing weight. She called me an enabler and accused me of spoiling her. Now for the top comment. Not today, Hal. Your wife needs to shut up before she gives your daughter an eating disorder. I'd honestly give an ultimatum at this point. How is the daughter in a situation similar to this one? My mom bullied me into developing anorexia. Same, bulimia. Anti-A, anti-A, anti-A. Please, don't let your wife do this. She's steering your daughter towards a lifelong and healthy relationship with food. She's literally a teenager. She's supposed to weigh more than she did 2 years ago. She's growing strong and her body's maturing. Of course she weighs more. Your wife, from her background, probably has her own issues with eating. Do not let her pass on her own insecurities to your daughter. Also, she does gymnastics and ballet. Muscle weighs more than fat. Your wife seems to think that if you're not supermodel stick thin, you're fat. That's extremely unhealthy outlook to have, and even worse to pass on to your daughter. Not today, Hal, and do not let your wife do this. Not today, Hal. Your wife is driving your healthy and athletic daughter towards self-esteem issues and a possible eating disorder. Your former fashion model wife is obsessed with being model thin, which more often than not is underweight, which isn't necessarily healthy. Your daughter is a growing adolescent dancer and a gymnast, which means that she's not only going through hormonal changes, but as an athlete, her body mass has more muscle, which is heavier on a scale. Your wife needs to be less focused on the appearance of thinness and numbers on a scale and more about your daughter's overall health. Have your wife talk to your daughter's doctor and go with her medical advice. You may also want to have your daughter talk to a therapist. Good luck. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for rejecting a birthday party that has to be shared with my sister? My 15 female, sister 12 female, and I have birthdays 1 month apart. Mine in June and hers in July. The other night, my parents told me they couldn't afford for both of us to have birthday parties, or in my case have a night at a movie with some friends and a sleepover after. So they have decided we should celebrate together, at the house, with her friends and mine. I'll be 16 and she'll be 13. That sounds like a hellish birthday celebration. Hanging around a bunch of 12/13-year-olds, and my sister annoying me the whole time, because every birthday, she insists on me playing with her or bouncing her in the bounce house. And if it's supposed to be about me too, then I don't want that stuff. So I told my parents it was okay, I didn't need to celebrate. I'd rather just let it be her birthday party. They're mad because my sister was so excited by the idea. They told her a week before me, and now I've said no and she was already expecting it. They're also mad because I showed no excitement. They asked if there was any way to change my mind, so I said, what about just a sleepover for me separate from the joint party? And they said no, and why not have my friends sleep over that night after the party since my sister will be doing the same? We did that once. Just 2 regular sleepovers, and my sister and her friends took over the whole thing and wouldn't stop bugging us. My parents think it's unfair to turn down a party that would include both of us, and said I should be grateful for any birthday party. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. And your suggestion of a sleepover for me separate is a good one. It costs next to nothing to have friends sleep over. Whatever food/cake expenses are there would have been more or less built into the joint party anyway. If you were turning 3 and 6, fine. If you were turning 30 and 33, fine. The 3 years between 13 and 16 are a chasm. Hope your parents reconsider, and if they do not, pick the lesser of two evils. Having the joint party or having no party. Happy birthday in any event. The lesser of two evils is definitely not having the party. At least in my eyes it is. Would one of your friends host you that night? Acknowledged. It is super rude to ask. If a sleepover would make you happy and commemorate the night for you, and get you away from a bunch of 13-year-olds at no expense to your parents, it may work out for everyone. Not Daehal. If they wanted to celebrate you, they'd do something you wanted. They want to get credit for celebrating you when it's all about your sister. Not Daehal. This above post is right. I had to share a birthday party with my brother the entire time growing up, because his birthday was 364 days behind mine, and the party swiftly became all about him, only son. It was a time of celebration for him. Cake, presents, etc. For me, not even a cake. No cards, no presents, because my birthday happened to be the next day. This happened each and every year. And when I left home, they totally ignored my birthday. Not even a phone call. It starts with a shared birthday and goes downhill from there. Not always, but they rarely turn out well. OP, stand your ground. Your parents don't have to spend money. A cake can be made at home. A sleepover is inexpensive. Don't let this shared birthday party happen. It builds resentment between siblings rather than fosters care and happiness. One of you, either you or your sister, will feel left out/abandoned.